if millennials buy all of these 11 things, they're pretending they're richer than they are. And so what I want to do, Chris, if we could, is let's go through each one of them individually. I want to get your take and I want to see what your thoughts are to see if you agree with it or if you disagree with the game.
I am totally game, and I'm already laughing right now because you can probably already tell. I already have some emotional feelings that are coming up right now as I'm looking at this stuff. And I think you already know that I'm gonna call somebody out already right now.
Hey, you've been calling out the baby boomers, so man, I'm just wondering if that's gonna be a part of the conversation. So
how did you read my mind?
Hey, I'm gonna jump right into it, man. To go into the middle of the street to take a picture. There was a picture, and I kid you not, Chris, there were 30, 40 people in the middle of the street, and traffic is going both ways. And you see these people taking pictures and selfies, and they have no shame whatsoever. And that just really tells you about the influence of social media on the psyche of people today. And so I'm lockstep with you on this one, man. People going to look like they're rich just to take a picture. I think it's great if you're actually on vacation, living your life, tell your story, no problem. But don't go to a destination, my opinion, just to go take a picture to look the part. Because I would say, I'll touch on this a little bit more before we're done today, but there's a deeper challenge or a deeper problem embedded with presenting your life in one way when it's really not that. As a way to leverage, they decided to stay there and their homes paid off. And now they have a chance to relive their childhood, things that they missed out on. So they couldn't get the car because they were paying their mortgage, and they couldn't go and do the things they wanted to do because they were putting their kids through college. And so I'm not a baby boomer, man, but I think I need to speak up on behalf of them because you're ripping them a new one, man. Because here's the thing. Here's where you get brainwashed. Every single season, last year's fashion trends go out of style. And so therefore, the brainwashing is that you've got to go back and buy more. So we're just driven by this constant consumer driven behavior.
Since you're not buying it because it's an investment, you're buying it because of the way it makes you feel when you get in it. It's easier to cry in a Mercedes than it is in a Toyota Camry. I promise you that. It is 100%. But you should have something that's driving you. You really should. You really should have something that drives you, because that drove me hardcore because I didn't want to drive a shit car anymore. I wanted to drive a nice car. That's what drove me. Imagine it's not just you drinking coffee or doing stuff in the house. It's your daughter, it's your other daughter, it's your wife, it's maybe, everyone in my house does this. So if you're a house that drinks coffee or does espresso or does tea or does matchas, it does this stuff, this is an investment.
Being in a place where somebody's there to hold you accountable, if you have that, I think the gym serves a great value for that. But otherwise, take some time, invest in yourself. I think it's one of the best investments you can make. So I definitely think that it's okay to spend money here.
So you're for it?
Yes, because you'll spend less at the gym than you will at the hospital. $500,000 heart surgery is going to be $1 million in 5-6 years with the cost of living and the value of money going down and healthcare costs going up. Yeah, putting some money in yourself, I think that's a good thing.
I just think late night TV is dying. I don't think anybody watches late night TV. The demographics that would pull that are dying. Gen X, and maybe if they watch it, baby boomers. I know millennials don't watch late night TV.
I can't tell you the last time I watched late night TV.
And Gen Zs don't watch TV. That's why I was like, how do these companies, these broadcast companies have power, over the air broadcast companies have power? I can't even remember the last time I even watched TV because everything's on here or the computer or whatever. So to me, I'm just like, I think that's a dying sector.
Welcome to the Family Office. Planning for the people who matter most.
It almost feels like it's going to rain here again.
I know, right? Welcome to another edition of the Family Office. I'm your host, Len Cooper, with Chris Philp right here. And believe it or not, Chris, I believe this is episode 10, man. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. I just, to me, I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out where the summer went, and then I'm still trying to figure out where 2025 went, because I just think that things are moving very fast. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm excited about it. Episode number 10. I think we're just banging this stuff out. It's getting better every time, so I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, it's a work in progress, man. And we'll keep getting better, and we'll keep producing better content and getting tighter and just getting better at what we do. Because that's really all what it comes down to, is because at the end of the day, if you're not getting better, you're not growing, you're dying. So, we're going to continue to give good content. And so today I would like to take more of a lighter approach than we have in the past. And so, in the spirit of that, you shared this article with me, and I definitely am looking forward to getting your take on it, because it says, if millennials buy all of these 11 things, they're pretending they're richer than they are. And so what I want to do, Chris, if we could, is let's go through each one of them individually. I want to get your take, and I want to see what your thoughts are, to see if you agree with it or if you disagree with the game.
I am totally game, and I'm already laughing right now, because you can probably already tell. I already have some emotional feelings that are coming up right now as I'm looking at this stuff. And I think you already know that I'm gonna call somebody out already right now.
Hey, you've been calling out the baby boomers, so man, I'm just wondering if that's gonna be a part of the conversation. So
how did you read my mind?
Hey, I'm gonna jump right into it, man. So the first one is weekend getaways for Instagram photos, and so it says this. Simply for the sake of getting perfect Instagram shots, millennials and other generations are overspending on vacations and experiences. So, Chris, do you agree or do you disagree?
So I think before I even go into it, I just kind of want to understand, or I don't want to understand, because if a millennial buys these 11 items, they're pretending they're richer than they are. Okay, so I'm just gonna, for a second, take out the fact that we're talking about millennials, and let's just talk about anybody at any point, right?
Okay, I think that's fair. That's good.
Regardless if you're millennial, Gen X, baby boomer, Gen Z, whatever. To me, I think that this is kind of like goes in hand with almost like a cultural aspect, which is really American culture, which is excess and big and extravagance and opulence, and pretty much just ride it till the wheels fall off, right? I mean, that's just go, right? I mean, which is great, because it's always like there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of ways to make money. But I really think that this hones in on the millennial generation specifically very well, because there's a song by, I think it's called MGT. And I'll look up the song later, but or we could probably put it up there. And it really encompasses the millennial generation and what we were taught, which is go, 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 hustle culture, work, grind it out, big, extravagant, minimalist house, but you want vacations and social media and post out there, and everyone needs to know what your life's doing. So I really think that the extravagant lifestyle and the bigger than life lifestyle was really given to a lot of millennials very cheaply during obviously the rise of the 2008 market and right leading up to that, and cheap money and cheap housing and all that stuff. And now we gave cheap money again. And we just keep creating these cycles, these big boom bust cycles. And I think we're at a point right now where it's become so culture ingrained with certain people, especially America, where you're just supposed to go buy and live in debt. But realistically, debt is money. So how could you be wrong with that? I mean, that's really all there is to it. I just read an article about Lennar. You know who Lennar is, right? Mm-hmm. The home builder. Yep. It's like one of the largest mass market home builders.
Absolutely.
In order for them to,
yeah, absolutely.
Right. In order for them to continue to hit their current sales goals or sales targets, they have scaled, literally as of today, they've scaled back the modal or the average price for their units back to 2019 levels.
Wow. Just
to keep sales on par, Len. That's crazy.
That is nuts. That is nuts.
So I think it's a whole culture, and I think the baby boomers have influenced that culture more than anybody. Because if you look at baby boomers, they still have a McMansion. They still got a Bronco, a brand new Bronco in the driveway. They got a Corvette in there. They might have a Rivian. They got an Escalade. They are living large right now. So everyone looks at the baby boomers and goes, that's what you're supposed to be. They eat out every night. They got 2 or 3 houses, and they got big cars that don't care about miles per gallon. Meanwhile, we're forced and being told we got to go buy electric vehicles and 4-cylinder cars because it's good for the environment. And we're going to get baked to death by global warming if we don't. So I think that people are just tired and they want to go on vacation right now.
Okay. So I definitely want to hear more. I wanted to jump in and just get your thoughts, because as you were talking about the baby boomers and how they own all of the homes and then they buy these expensive cars, and you talked just a second ago about Lennar's prices going back to 2019 rates. But don't you think that housing prices relative to income is rising too fast? And so what happens is that if you have an inordinate or a disproportionate balance between your income and your lifestyle, then you've got to make some changes. And I think the baby boomers were the benefactors of a positive housing market. They were able to buy their homes for $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. And we were talking, even the two of us before, we were talking about the fact that we bought our first home under $100,000. And so the fact that some of them kept their 30-year mortgage and decided to pay their homes off because they weren't looking at their homes as a way to leverage, they decided to stay there and their homes paid off. And now they have a chance to relive their childhood, things that they missed out on. So they couldn't get the car because they were paying their mortgage, and they couldn't go and do the things they wanted to do because they were putting their kids through college. And so I'm not a baby boomer, man, but I think I need to speak up on behalf of them, because you are ripping them a new one, man.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I don't think they have all the blame here. Okay, so let me lighten it out for them. Okay. I was just having this conversation with somebody, and I said, look, things really, really are expensive. Like, I remember having conversations with my organization about, this was like during right during the height of COVID, maybe 2021. And I remember saying, look, if you're feeling it right now, because inflation is so crazy, if you're not making $300,000 a year or more, you're feeling inflation. I think that's what the statistic was in like 2021, 2022, right? I really believe right now that if you have a large family, and I say a large family is, I don't know, what do you think a large family is? Husband,
nowadays,
wife, and 5 kids, 4 kids?
Husband, wife, and 4 kids, I would think would be considered a large family.
Okay. So husband and wife with 4 kids that want to live in a decent area, and I'm just going to do some arbitrary math here. They want to live in a decent area in Texas, okay? A decent area in Texas, and they want to eat in a decently. You're looking at, and they want to drive a nice car with insurance and have utilities and have some cell phones and have some entertainment. I mean, you got to make at least $12,000 a month net.
I would agree with that.
Net.
Yeah.
So $12,000 a month is $140. You got to make about $150,000, $150,000 a year net.
Yeah.
Net.
Mm-hmm.
Net.
That's right.
And
when you talk net, for those people who may not know what that term is, that's after your taxes have been paid. So if you're looking at $144,000 net, you're the finance guy. How much is that gross? Probably somewhere, about a quarter?
Let's see,
220?
I'm saying $150,000. I'm going to say $150,000. And let's see what the percentage, 60. I'd say, what did you say it was?
About
50.
150. So my guess was
I'm thinking like 210, 220. Yeah. 210, 220.
Okay.
210, 220, depending on how it's being filed out.
So that's a dual income earning household. One spouse makes 110, the other one makes 100, or do the math thereabouts. That's not normal, because the last time I checked, if you made 6 figures in America, you were at about top 6 to 7%. And
let's see what it is today. Go ahead, Len. I'm going to look.
Okay.
As you're
Yeah. So if you're looking at, so let's just assume while you're looking that up, that top 6 or 7% is what the income range would be. That means that 90 to 94% of the population really doesn't have the financial wherewithal to be able to own a home and live comfortably if you've got more than 1, 2, or 3 kids. And I think that's a really sad state of affairs, considering the fact that many years ago, an income of $20,000, $30,000 could get you a home and a car and take a family vacation. And long gone are those days. And so I'm really concerned about where we are. So while you have a disdain for the baby boomers, I look more at it as a reflection of economic forces that are really taking the American dream and turning it into a nightmare, because most people aren't going to be in dual income earning situations making 6 figures. That just doesn't exist. And so you have the cost of living that's going up relative to income. There's a disproportionate number there. So what did you find? What's the number? You're at $100,000.
If you're making $100,000 annually, that puts you in the 80th to 80th percentile, which means you make more than 80 to 85% of people in America.
Wow.
So it's not even the top 10% anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, realistically, I think
that means that 20% roughly thereabouts,
20%,
100,000. That's 1 in 5.
Compare that to 1980. That to 1980.
That's 1 in 5. And so, I mean, okay. So really what that says is that 4 out of 5 people in the richest country in the world, not only in the world, but the richest country in the history of the world by GDP, not necessarily per capita, is living in a situation where they can't have a house and a car and 4 kids and live comfortably in Texas, mind you. Don't talk about New York. My son and I had a conversation.
Or California.
I was going there. My son, who lives in New York, and I had a conversation. He says, "You know what, Dad? What I realized is, and he's 26 years old, and he's frustrated, and he makes $110,000. And so he said, you know what? In order to really be comfortable, you have to make 20 grand a month, and that's in New York. And so California is not much different. So is Hawaii and all of those things. And so when you're talking about living like that in Texas, it just makes you wonder, where's the direction of our economy going? And it's really a shame. And so, so when we talk about the millennials and talking about, having weekend getaways for Instagram photos, just so they can look like they're living that type of a lifestyle to get the envy of other people. I don't know, Chris, how do you feel about that?
So I think that in coming into this and jumping into this, giving that caveat and that open is important. But
yes, that's very important.
As I go, then I look at this. This to me is foolish, regardless of where you're at economically. Look, if you're making great money and you have money to burn, like stupid money, then and you want to do this, great. But I don't think you would do those things if you're at this point in your life financially, just simply because time is so valuable to you. So you're vacationing anyways. Right. Okay. But to actually go and just plan something just to make a photo shoot for it or to do publicity for it, I think that's just a horrible way to spend money. And I understand some people will go, oh, but it's therapeutic, right? Like maybe it brings you therapy. Cool. Do it maybe once a year or once a quarter. But because I get it. Some people have their tics, but just to do it because they want to do it, it's so foolish. And I have known friends that have done this, and I think it's the most foolish thing you could ever possibly do. I don't agree with it. I think this one is right on. I think it's a poor financial decision. No one should be doing getaways just for the heck of it. Before I throw it back over to you, Len, so you knew, if you made $100,000 in 1987, you adjusted it for today's dollars, that's $281,000 a year.
Sheesh.
Okay.
Wow.
Same thing. If you made $100,000 a year in 1995, it has the same purchasing power as about 209 today, if you compare it. And then $100,000 in the year 2000 is about 185 today. So isn't that crazy how that income? So 250 is the new six figures.
That's right. That's right. 250 is the new 100K. And all that tells you is that that's an erosion of the value of the dollar. And once we went off the gold standard in 1971, ever since then, there's been this decline. If you take a look at any graph and you look at the value of the dollar over time, you'll see 1971. Prior to that, the dollar was fairly stable in terms of the value because it was backed by gold. And then after that, it significantly erodes. And so, so there's this inverse relationship between the erosion of the value of the dollar and the cost of goods and services going up. It's that inverse relationship, because all it just means is that you need more of a weaker, diluted currency to buy the same stuff. And so what I believe with this whole situation with Instagram, I was watching the news the other day, and there was a story. There's this really famous street in Beverly Hills. And when you look at the movies and they have this lined street with all of the palm trees, that line of palm trees on that street, it's a very popular street in Beverly Hills.
It's in like every movie.
Yes, exactly. When you think California, that's the street, right? And so a resident was saying, back, years ago, people have always come here because it's an iconic street. But, back in the day when I first moved here 30 years ago, people wouldn't, they'd be embarrassed if you drove by. They'd be sure to make sure that they got out of the way, or they'd wait till the car came by to go into the middle of the street to take a picture. There was a picture, and I kid you not, Chris, there were 30, 40 people in the middle of the street, and traffic is going both ways. And you see these people taking pictures and selfies, and they have no shame whatsoever. And that just really tells you about the influence of social media on the psyche of people today. And so I'm lockstep with you on this one, man. People going to look like they're rich just to take a picture. I think it's great if you're actually on vacation, living your life, tell your story, no problem. But don't go to a destination, my opinion, just to go take a picture to look the part. Because I would say, I'll touch on this a little bit more before we're done today, but there's a deeper challenge or a deeper problem embedded with presenting your life in one way when it's really not that. So let's go to number 2. Designer clothes they can't afford. It says, according to a study from Atomic Research, 76% of millennials get their fashion advice and ideas about trends from social media. What are your thoughts about that? Designer clothes they can't afford.
I think sometimes the designer stuff is trash and that the quality's crappy. I've bought everything. But what I can say is that clothes are important. I think that clothes should fit you right, and they should look good on you first before anything, and you should feel good in them. Because if you feel good in something, you're going to portray confidence in it. But at the same time, designer clothes are important for a lot of people. I was in a season of my life where designer clothes was very important for me. I didn't wear anything but designer. And I'm talking like Canali, Xenia. I would literally get ready and look at my fit and go $800 shoes, $200 socks, $400 jeans. You know what I mean? And go
not uncommon to have top to bottom $2,000 a day.
Yes, exactly. Be like $700. You're paying like $300 for a t-shirt sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. And what I've noticed a lot with that stuff is that a lot of it is hand sewn and hand stitched and all that stuff. So I think for designer stuff, the smart thing that you want to do is find statement pieces. I'm not saying you shouldn't get designer stuff. I think you should have some designer stuff, but I think as a guy, it's important to have some pieces in your wardrobe or your closet that you can go to. Every man should have a black tuxedo. Every man should have a navy blue suit and a gray suit in their closet. Like you should always have it. You should never not have a navy blue suit, a black tuxedo, and a gray suit. You should have it. So I think you should spend some money on that kind of stuff. Have a nice tuxedo, and have a nice blazer, a nice sports coat. Go spend $800 on a coat, and everything else doesn't have to look, like. I was in Nordstrom's the other day and I said, dude, the same Nike sports shorts are $40 more in Nordstrom than they are at Academy. So that's not a designer, but still the thing is you should have some stuff. And also to that effect as well is that when you do have that, Gentlemen, if you're listening, when you buy a tuxedo and you get it fitted to you, and obviously if you're past age 25 and you've had some kids, your body's probably not going to change anymore unless you get fat or you get back to where you're normally supposed to be. Get that tuxedo, because then it forces you to stay in shape, and it forces you to have discipline, because you ain't getting a bigger tuxedo, bro. You're staying in this one no matter how old you get, because you're not getting a big, you know what I mean? So everyone should have some nice pieces, but to just go all out with all designer stuff, I've done that in a season of my life. I don't recommend it, because I regret it, because you end up getting rid of the stuff, or it doesn't fit anymore, or something changes, or styles change, and they wear down faster. The best clothes I've ever gotten are cheap stuff from Walmart that lasts, 100% cotton stuff that lasts forever. And you never get it. But you should have some statement pieces. But to blow everything on just all designer, your closet doesn't have to be all designer.
Yeah, I think you bring up some very good points. I definitely can relate to what you're talking about, especially depending upon the profession you're in. If you're a business person, if you're a person where professionalism and trust go hand in hand with what you wear, I think your attire needs to reflect that. I think what happens a lot of times with millennials in particular, and also I'm Gen X, I think people in particular, but what happens, I don't want to make any generalizations, but I think specifically what ends up happening is people look at designer wear because of how other people perceive them, as opposed to the utility of that piece of clothing. And so for women, I've been married. In fact, on Sunday, it'll be my 29th anniversary being married to my wife.
Ooh, so, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you. Yeah, I'm super happy about that. So, I'm not a woman, but I know a thing or two about them because I'm married to one. And one thing that I know about women in general is that there is a different sense of fashion. So for men, we can get suits and keep them forever as long as we stay fit, because a black, blue, gray suit with a white shirt and a light blue shirt, and if you get some power ties, get your red ties, your blue ties, your black ties, and you get your black shoes and your brown shoes, and then you have your black socks and your blue socks and your black belt and your brown belt. You can mix and match and change those, and then get a couple of blazers and some slacks. And with 10 pieces of clothing, you've got 200 different outfits because of the combinations, as long as you're keeping it solid. Right. And then you can change out your cufflinks and your handkerchiefs and, put some lapel pins on there or whatever you want to accent it, or, a nice necklace with the t-shirt and things like that. For women, it's different. And, they've got the after 5 dress, and they've got the dinner dress, and they've got the church dress, and they've got the trendy dress, and they've got the club dress, and they've got the cute pants and the slacks and the work pants. And, and they've got blouses and, all kinds of spaghetti straps. Like, there's so many different types of clothing. And I think what happens is people who get caught up in designer clothing, because here's the thing. Here's where you get brainwashed. Every single season, last year's fashion trends go out of style. And so therefore, the brainwashing is that you've got to go back and buy more. So we're just driven by this constant consumer driven behavior, so we can stay connected with how we look in our clothing. And to me, there is a difference between cheap clothing. Like I remember looking at jeans, and you can look at a pair of jeans and know that they're, $19.99 versus a pair of $200 jeans. They just fit differently. They're sewn differently. They hang differently in the right places, by the way. You know what I mean? So all of those things matter. But I think where we're going is looking good for somebody else's approval. That's the wrong approach to me. So when you try to look the part for somebody else's approval, all of the characteristics that go into having good fashion sense go out the window, because you're not doing it for you. And I can certainly relate. I used to dress for other people, so I'm certainly not pointing fingers at you, because I used to do the same thing. And so, once I turned a certain age and got to a certain income level, you start to have the ability to not care as much because people aren't necessarily controlling what your pocketbooks are going to look like. So I just think that it's a dangerous, slippery slope to dress for other people. So let's go to number 3, unless you have some other comments that you want to say.
Yeah, no, I just think it's influencer culture. I mean, that gets everybody. It's influencer culture. And yeah, as you get older, you start to realize what you like and what you don't like. And it just doesn't become a priority for you anymore. Women, it's different. Women have to have fashion. I get it. Some guys do also have to have fashion, but don't break the bank. But
exactly. Yeah. And so the next one is expensive name brand food. It says many people who consistently buy name brand foods and beverages over generic ones that are not only cheaper, but they're often taste exactly the same, are doing it for status and prestige. What are your thoughts? Agree or disagree?
So I think that this has become very much so different in this argument. Is changed a little bit in that generics used to be generics, in that everything used to be made the same. But nowadays, I think brands matter if you're trying to eat clean and you're trying to eat healthy. So, for example, you can eat a certain brand, and yes, it might taste the same, but how they made it taste is the difference, right? So what type of artificial sweeteners are they using? What type of emulsifiers are being done in there? What type of artificial natural flavors? What the hell is that? So I think that brand is important. I specifically look for specific brands because I'm not focused on brand awareness. So I don't want to get that confused where it's like, I only buy Jolly Green Giant peas because they're the best. No, I'm not buying it because I like the brand. I'm buying this brand because it is air chilled, organic, non-GMO feed, pasture raised, that. So I'm buying it for the cleanliness and the health benefits of the food. So that's where I would say I would look at this argument. I won't buy something because it's like, I only buy Best Foods mayonnaise, right? I don't buy anything else. I'm not loyal to a brand like that. I'm loyal to a brand that's going to fit my agenda. And my agenda when I look at food is I'm going to buy brands that are non-GMO, that are organic, that are sustainable, that are quality ingredients, whole ingredients, non-processed, minimally processed. That's my idea. So I think brands matter when you're looking at that. But as far as brand loyalty is concerned, brand loyalty exists only for me if it's filling a problem in my agenda. So pragmatically, I guess you would say it, right? I mean, that's how you would look at it. But brand, I think brand loyalty in the old world sense is dying or is going away. I think it is, maybe. I don't know. At least for me, it is. I mean, I don't buy a brand simply because it's cool or anything like that. I buy a brand because of what it represents or what problem it's going to solve or the quality of the work, I guess, or the quality of what it's doing for me in my life, the problem it's solving. So for me, that's how brand matters.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that. I think baby boomers who look at this as an argument, the context has changed because when times were back in, the 60s and the 70s, generic and name brand foods often were the same because it was made by the same manufacturing. It was distilled and boxed in the same place. Just one had a brown box that said bread, cereal versus Kellogg's or, Wonder. So, and also back in the day, there weren't as many additives and preservatives as there are now. And so with all of these chemical advancements and these large multinational companies really gaining a stronghold in the economy and in the food space, and you have this consolidation of food, then there's these corners that are being cut. And I think the situation now is significantly different because, there's so many things that are added to the food that can really hurt you. All of the dyes and all of the preservatives that are added. And then all of these processed foods, there's so much more of them now with all of the excess sugars that's being added. Before fructose corn syrup was discovered, you had sugar and pure cane sugar that was added in those ingredients. And so now, you can get more sweetness with a fraction of the chemicals. And so therefore they can make more money. And so as a result of that, in any situation, you follow the money, that's what happens. But I agree with you from the standpoint of, especially with meats, you've got to have good, clean meat, because if you ever take a look, just take some time to go look at how pigs and chickens and beef is processed in terrible slaughterhouses. The situation is awful, and they've got manure all over them. They're emaciated, and they pump all of these antibacteria, antibiotics into the food. It's disgusting. So definitely I'm with you on that. And so, but I think on the flip side, if you feel like you have to go to the higher end name brand stores, and I'm not trying to put anybody's name out there, but you know who they are, just for the sake of being seen, then that's where the problem comes. But I agree with you from the standpoint of to eat healthy for the right reason, not to be seen as a person who eats in these higher end places. So let's go to the next one. So trendy home decor. We were just talking about your background, which looks really nice, by the way, Chris. I like your background. It says, whether it's TikTok famous kitchenware or colors of the summer on their duvets, if a millennial buys these items, they're pretending to be richer than they are. In fact, the desire to fit in by feeding into trends are often rooted in a desire for belonging and attention. They overspend with money they don't have so they can feel like they belong. Agree or disagree?
Again, I think this kind of falls into the same category for me as high-end fashion stuff. I think styles change. Like, for example, the minimalist muted gray stuff is gone now, where it's like, you know what I mean? Everything needs to be minimalist and muted gray, and like almost like you're going to a shrink's office every time, like that look. I think that's going away now. Styles and trends change, and I think that styles and trends change so often that just get the cheap stuff. No one's going to know anyways. No one's going to know. No one is going to know unless you are super psycho, where you're like, I won't buy this because of the PFAs that come out of the area rug that you buy. Because there are people that are like that I only buy organic cotton furniture. I get it. That's like near impossible to do. But I think get the cheap stuff, because especially if you have kids. If you have kids, never buy cloth furniture. Only buy leather furniture, because it's just the easiest to square away when you have a bunch of kids. That's just my experience, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think once, if you want to get like a showpiece or something that's really nice, like you get like, if you're into Tiffany lamps, I can understand you want to go and buy a really nice Tiffany lamp. Or if you like art, you get like a really nice piece of art, or you like Chase lounges, or, you get a nice office chair or something to that effect. Cool. I get it. But I mean, to me, you're going to get rid of that stuff anyways. Things change and furniture depreciates. So, I mean, every nice piece of furniture I've ever bought either gets worn out, goes away, or you change it, you get sick of it. Like sectionals. No one wants big sectionals anymore, unless I'm wrong. I don't know. I might be, but nobody likes that kind of crap anymore. So I think it's the same thing as designer clothes. You'll never get rid of a Canali jacket or a Xenia jacket, but you'll get rid of the stuff that you wear every day, the couches. So I think it's the same way as that. Don't waste money on stuff like that. There's so many cheap places you can get stuff now. You can go to At Home, you can go to Walmart. I mean, go to Dollar Store. A lot of stuff you can go to the Dollar Store and get the same stuff at the Dollar Store. So, yeah, I wouldn't spend money on stuff like that. To me, it's just a waste. It's a waste of time.
To me, if it's an asset that can appreciate in value, like art or finely crafted furniture that you can pass down to your kids or sell, other than that, don't waste your money, because trends come and go. When you move and go from your apartment to your house and from your one house to the next house, it won't fit, and you're going to want something new anyway when you move and change locations. I agree with you 100%. Next, luxury car leases. A truly wealthy person may overspend on a car that loses its value within the first year, but they have the disposable income to buy it outright. On the other hand, millennials buying cars pretend they're richer than they are, usually lease brand new cars, spending more without investing any kind of permanent ownership. Do you agree or disagree?
I think there's a couple different ways you could look at this. By and large, from the surface level, I don't think you should do it. I think it's something where it's like, I waited until I drove a Toyota Camry. I didn't buy my first luxury car until I made over 250 a year. I started making like 350, 400,000 a year. And then I bought my first luxury car. And by the way, it was right before COVID. It was like 2019, I think it was when it was. And by the way, it was a certified pre-owned car. So it wasn't even a brand new car. It was certified pre-owned. It was a 2-year lease return, had a CPO warranty, 100 mile, 1,000 miles, unlimited, or for 5 years, 100,000 miles. And it was great. 30, 40% the original sticker. So I think that's category number one. Category number two, if you're in an environment, and I've been in this season too, where you're making the money and you're enjoying it and you have the means to do it, then by all means go lease it and do it strategically as well with the weight, like a Range Rover or a G-Wagon, or where you have the right tonnage. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of torn half and half in this. I think you should. To me, it's very important to me. I like nice cars. This is an important thing for me, so I can justify it in my head. I don't have a bar habit or a pool habit or a softball habit or any of those other types of habits. So to me, this is my habit. This is my thing. So I would say that this is an important thing to me in my life. This is important. I aspire to it. It drove success for me to have a nice car. I like nice cars, but I'm a car person. Now, if it comes time where it's like, I get it, you're going to fake it till you make it. I understand that too. But not unless you can afford it. I think you got to hit a certain income level. Again, I'm not trying to be the fun police or anything like that, but I drove around in a Toyota Camry and a Toyota Avalon and a Toyota Highlander until I could make that happen. Because part of the thing that people don't get, I think, about luxury cars, or luxury cars in a sense, you're not buying it because it's an investment. You're buying it because of the way it makes you feel when you get in it. It's easier to cry in a Mercedes than it is in a Toyota Camry. I promise you that. It is 100%. And it's easier to have a bad day when you're working and you get in that car and you just, right? But at the same time, if it's breaking you, then yeah, I don't think it's a good idea.
No, I hear you.
To do that. But I also see why people do it. But you should have something that's driving you. You really should. You really should have something that drives you, because that drove me hardcore, because I didn't want to drive a shit car anymore. I wanted to drive a nice car. That's what drove me. But the thing that people don't get about luxury cars is that not only do you have to be able to afford the payment, you got to afford to own one, because luxury cars do require a little bit more to maintenance them. And if you do maintenance them, then you don't have a problem with them. And what I see, Len, is most people get a Beamer or a Mercedes or something like that, and they don't maintenance it. And then small problems become expensive problems, and that's how people are, it's expensive to maintain. Not if you do the maintenance correctly on it. If you do, it'll take care of you, because it really is a well-built car. You just have to do the maintenance on it. It's a different type of maintenance because it's a performance car. So I think set an income level and you ought to get your car. You only live once, so get a nice car.
Okay. I would say my take is different. I would say if you are an employee that spends more than 20% on living and 10% on eating and another 15 to 20%. So in other words, if 50% of your income goes towards living, paying bills, and eating, and you're an employee, don't lease. Because the only benefit you get from leasing is to have a write-off for your business. And so you can find a car that's used that you can pay for, allow somebody else to drive off the appreciation and get a nice looking car. So regardless if you want to get an American made car, a German car, or a Japanese made car, or whatever the case may be, find the 5-year-old version of it and say, okay, like for example, if you're walking down the street today, you see a car that you love, that you have to have, set an income goal for you to have and say, I'm going to buy that car in 5 years. That car that I'm looking at right there, in 5 years, I'm going to buy that car, because I can tell you what, people who have nice cars tend to take care of them, and they tend to get the oil changed. They tend to get the tires changed. They tend to get all of the preventative maintenance. So when you buy it, it's already nice and broken in for you, because they want to resell that car because they're going to get into something else. You then go buy that car. You just have to defer gratification a little bit. Otherwise, you're going to be broke trying to please everybody else just because of the way that it makes you feel today. You can always buy something. Like you can buy, whatever type of car you want at pennies on the dollar. Just wait 5 years for it. That's my take. Next, exclusive concert tickets. By using buy now, pay later programs or putting concert tickets on credit cards, millennials spend on experiences to prove that they're richer than they are to people watching them on social media. Agree or disagree?
I agree with this happening, and I think it's a problem. I mean, even if you go on Amazon now, everything is like offers for like what, Affirm and all this stuff where you could buy now, pay later.
Klarna,
and I think the Klarna, all that. I think the buy now, pay later culture, it was always like, it's like the payday loan culture, but even worse. Mm-hmm. Like it's just getting so bad. But to me, I think the biggest crazy thing is that I just can't believe how expensive concert tickets are. Like, it's just so crazy to me. I just wonder how and why did concert tickets get so expensive? And is that maybe because people don't really buy CDs anymore? People don't buy media anymore. It's all streamed now. I mean, to me, it's just like concerts have become so expensive. And maybe that's just a sign of the times we're in. Logistics, security, all of these things that go in with it.
Yeah, artists can't get paid for their work anymore. So that's where they make all of their money. Because streaming music, they don't make any money. But go ahead.
Morrissey's still touring. Can you believe that?
Wow.
He still tours, man.
Got to make his money.
Morrissey, he's got to make his money. I think it's a shame, though. I earlier this year, I went to the Rufus DeSolt concert right over here in the Woodlands Pavilion. It was awesome. It was epic. It wasn't that bad, though. It was only a couple $100. But yeah, unless you are like, this is like, I just think that exclusive concert ticket is no longer just, hey, I'm going to a concert. I think exclusive concert ticket needs to be treated now almost like it's an annual vacation. Unless this is like I would justify spending money on exclusive concert ticket if you are making like a week-long vacation out of it. You know what I mean? Like you're not just going to the concert, but you're going to rope it into, hey, the concert's in Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to go there and spend a week and a half and have a blast before and after. Then I could justify it. But doing it alone, not today's world. I just don't think it's don't think it's there unless you're making $1 million a year.
Yeah, I think that you should spend money on events that bring you closer to the people you love, that create lifelong memories. I think they're worth it. Having said that, I do believe that concert tickets are way overpriced, but I also understand the artist's needs because the climate's changed, as I mentioned before. The issue that I have with this one in particular is not paying for the concert per se, it's using buy now, pay later, because it goes back to this whole issue of not deferring gratification. I agree with you 100%. If you're going to go to a concert, pay for it, save up for it, plan for it. And even if you don't know when the concert is going to happen, if you have a certain artist that you like, make sure you have money set aside. So when that artist becomes available to the local, to the closest area to you, if you don't want to get on a plane and fly, have some money set aside because you have to pay for it anyway. So why pay extra by putting it on a credit card? Because a $200 concert ticket is going to turn to $250, $275 per ticket when you could have spent 200 for it. If somebody walked up to you and said, hey, do you have $50 you can give me? And you're like, I don't know you. Like, okay, but you throw your money away to somebody you don't know buying a concert ticket. So why don't you just give your money away to somebody who randomly walks up to you to ask you for $50? Since you wouldn't do that, don't willingly give your money to somebody else you don't know for the sake of deferring gratification by buying a concert ticket with a credit card or those buy now, pay later apps. So I agree with you. Next.
I think it's just a nasty culture, Len, because think about it. I mean, think about the system. You've got a credit card, you've got a car loan, you've got a mortgage loan, you've got a student loan, you've got a firm loan. Like you've got how many more things can you have to stay and keep somebody in debt? Mm-hmm. It's just dude, no, like like the discipline and the rule for it is, hey, I'm going to save this money. And even if you got to put it in a big jar on the kitchen counter, if you're just like, if you're a young couple and it's just you and your significant other, put that crap on the island in the kitchen, right? Or the kitchen table. And oh my God, honey, it's when it gets to the top, we know we have enough money. Or digital something. I don't know if you're like put it in the bank or something, because that just makes it so easy. They make it so easy for people to spend money they don't have.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
What about this one? Fancy coffee machines. Check this out. It says, even if they have to share it on social media or have guests over feel important for owning it, a fancy coffee machine is one of the things millennials buy to pretend that they're actually richer than they are. What say you about this one, Chris?
I think this one's full of crap. Here's why. I think it's full of crap.
So in other words, you disagree with so you believe that you should buy a coffee machine regardless of its expense.
If you are a coffee person. Okay. If you are a coffee person. Now, I know a lot of people that are not. I know a lot of people that are coffee people. I think almost everybody I've come across to always has coffee. You drink coffee. Everybody drinks coffee. I don't know very few people that don't like drinking coffee, right? Or some type of form of coffee. Now, here's the reason why I disagree with it. And I'm going to make an admission to you right now, Len. I'm going to admit to you right now something that would probably is going to upset you a little bit. I go to Starbucks. I used to go to Starbucks. Mm-hmm. Okay. I was fibbing a little bit where I said I don't have a habit or I don't have a hobby, right? I said I like cars. So, okay. I go to Starbucks. Now, I think I go to Starbucks because I ran a lot of meetings in Starbucks in the previous industry and previous business that I was very heavily involved in. We did a lot of meetings in the field at Starbucks. So I got into Starbucks, right? Starbucks recruited me. Okay. It's kind of almost like if you're in the casino long enough, the house is going to win. They're going to get you to put $1 in that machine.
Very true. The house always wins. Starbucks is no different. Right.
Starbucks always wins. So Starbucks got me. And I'm up until about recently, and this is why I even make this argument so much more stronger for this. I was spending $6.12 a day on Starbucks.
I did the math on that. So I said $6 a day for 6 days a week for a year is $1,872 in 1 year.
Okay.
And now out here, a venti is $7 and some are $8 now.
Yeah. So imagine then, okay, it's not just you drinking coffee or doing stuff in the house. It's your daughter, it's your other daughter, it's your wife, it's maybe, everyone in my house does this. So if you're a house that drinks coffee or does espresso or does tea or does matchas, it does this stuff, this is an investment because I don't even have one yet. We're doing it all by hand, right? With the mixer and the foam and all that stuff. But I don't go to Starbucks anymore. I've cut Starbucks out of my life for like almost 2 months now. And I make my own matcha at home, all of it. And now I look at this and I go, damn, we really need a steamer and all that stuff to do the things that we want so we can continue to do it at home. And I remember I used to have one when I was in my 20s.
Took it for granted, huh?
I took it for granted because I didn't have it for the right reasons. I had it just so it sat on my counter, which is exactly what they're talking about in this article.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But again, I disagree with it now if you're going to actually use it, because this prevents, or this forces you to not go and spend money at Starbucks or Coffee Bean or wherever you're going to get your beverage in the streets. You can make your own in a tumbler, and all day long you got what you want and you don't have to deal with it. So for me, I disagree with this because it saves you money. And it also teaches you a skill set in your house to make your own espressos and your own teas and your own matchas. I got my own matcha now in the morning. My own matcha lattes. I make them in the morning now. I don't drink coffee that often anymore because I'm super caffeine sensitive now. But I think it's an investment. So I disagree with this. I think everyone should own it if you're a coffee person. If you're not, then you have no business buying it.
I think if you can create memories with it by using that to sit down and have conversations with your loved one and your kids, that's what I'm all about. Doing it just for other people, I'm totally against that. So I can understand your perspective. And if I were in a situation where I had 7 Starbucks bills a day, by all means, that thing would have been in my house a long time ago. So I totally get it. So number 8. Branded athleisure. It says, if you see a millennial buying tons of athleisure or doom spending, it could send them pretending they're richer than they actually are, or it could be a deeper issue of community that many young people face today. It says these young people have been key drivers of the activewear market, heavily influenced by fashion trends and frequently updating their wardrobes to align with trends, research analysts say. What say you about these whole things about branded athleisure?
I think that the athleisure wear market has exploded. I was just recently learning about Under Armour and the boom and bust cycle of Under Armour and how that company came to prominence, and then obviously it's declined, and where it was number 1 or number 2 at one point, and now it's not even. It's so far gone now. Mm-hmm. Look, athleisure wear is a massive market. I think it's huge for women, and it's especially for women. Leggings, especially in SoCal, and here where I'm from as well, in the Woodlands in Texas, it's very popular as well because it's very sports oriented here. I mean, I know for me, I wear athleisure wear shorts every day. So I think it's just pop culture. It's important for people right now. Now, where I think it's going to become you might start to see a driver in the opposite direction of this is that now you have all these studies that are coming out that are showing that a lot of the athleisure wear that's made mostly with polyester, it's very difficult, or it's very harmful for men, for sperm count, testosterone, hormones, and also women, because there's, in the crotch regions, and there's studies that show most women don't wear undergarments with their athleisure wear, with their leggings, and it creates fertility issues. And now you're seeing these studies that are coming out that are showing these fertility problems significantly in men because they're wearing all this stuff. So as far as spending it, like the doom spend it, look, I mean, there's a lot of celebrities that made a ton of money on this, on athleisure wear brands. I mean, there's a lot of celebrities that have their own athleisure wear brands. I think it goes back up to the designer clothes. Athleisure wears become designer clothes. I mean, Lululemons, right? Mm-hmm. I just think there's a lot of knockoff alternatives you could get that are cheaper, that work good. I get it. Some pants just fit different. Again, I think this has to go with, if this is a value in your life and this is something that's big in your life, this is something you wear every day, or it makes you joy, then go for it. But if you're just going to spend on this stuff just because you're going to look cool, you're going to end up hating it anyways. Most of this stuff is uncomfortable, especially if you're not in shape. Just saying.
I agree.
Just throwing that in there, man.
I agree. I mean,
if you're not in shape, it's not going to fit right anyways, and you're not going to look good.
Right. Yeah, it does not look like it does on them like it does on you if you're not in shape. Let's do rapid fire these last 3.
All right, go for it.
All right. So next one is premium subscription. So according to a report from Payments Intelligence, nearly 40% of millennials rely on subscriptions for shopping, whether it's for food and grocery, hygiene products, or general spending on things like clothes, fun, and experiences. What are your thoughts about premium subscriptions?
I think some are important, like, for example, productivity stuff.
Okay.
But here's the warning I have with this stuff, because I just did this a couple months ago. You can get so trapped with this stuff so easily, where all of a sudden you end up spending like $500-600 a month on subscriptions that you don't even know or use.
Yep.
I think if it's not producing income for you, or producing value for you, or giving you more time, look, if this subscription doesn't give me more time, give me value, or productivity, it's not worth your time. I don't have a time for it. Now, I do have time for my chat GTP. I do have time for those types of things because they're productive. But if it's not productive, I don't see where it fits in.
Agree to agree. If you have an app, look at all of the different apps that you have. If you forgot that you have it, get rid of it. Next, luxury water bottles. Whether it's glass luxury water bottles for the convenience store or status symbol reusable alternatives, if a millennial buys these items, they're pretending they're richer than they are. What do you say?
I say it's an investment.
You see my pinky?
I do. See that? I say it's an investment. I'm not marketing for anybody. I bought this for myself and my wife one for Christmas back in 2023. I drink 2 of these a day. It's a 40-ounce Stanley. Mm-hmm. It's the best thing I've ever had in my life. It's full of water every day, all day. I put a pinch of sea salt in it. I don't have to buy a bottle of water anymore. To me, it's an investment. I think you ought to have one. Now, where it becomes a problem is I do have friends of mine that collect them. I think it's just asinine. I mean, I don't understand that at all. So to me, I think it's an investment. I think everybody should have one, but I don't think it should be something where you're going and you're collecting them. Get yourself one. Get a Stanley. They last forever. I mean, you've seen that one where the car melted or caught on fire with the Stanley inside it.
Stanley survived, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the water was still cold or something inside the cup or something crazy like
really?
that.
I mean, know that part. Wow.
Yeah, I think it's that exaggerated. That exaggerated.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think if you buy it for utility and you buy it for efficiency, you're not having to fill up landfills with a bunch of plastics. Get a nice bottle and reuse it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Next, workout classes. Simply for the sake of posting their athleisure outfit or taking an Instagram photo in the yoga studio, some millennials overspend on workout classes to pretend they're richer than they are. What do you think about that, Chris?
I think the problem for this is that, and I notice this a lot with the gym, is the gym is always the fullest. Do you know when the gym is always the fullest, Len?
New Year's, baby. New Year's baby.
Mm-hmm. New Year's, baby. January, February, March, the gym is packed, baby. Yep. It is so packed, and I can't stand it either. I'm like, get out of here. I just want my gym back, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think this just goes hand in hand with that. Look, unless you develop the discipline, and we all have to develop discipline for things. And this is one of the biggest and most hardest things for people to develop discipline in their lives. I know I was one of them. You'll spend like Weight Watchers. I don't know how many times I watched my mom get on Weight Watchers and then get off Weight Watchers, get on Weight Watchers, or spend money on it and never use it, or fitness programs, or all these things. If you're into yoga and you are into it socially, like you're like so into it that you like the community of it, then I think this makes sense. But today's era, dude, you can get anything you want on YouTube. Ab workouts, yoga workouts, calisthenics workouts. Anything you want. You could watch someone on YouTube for free and get the whole routine on how to do it. So unless you're really into it, where you're into the community aspect of it, like I don't go to any of the classes. I go to a very bougie gym and I don't go to any of those classes. I don't go to any of them. I have no desire to go to them. None of my girls go to any of them. I just don't think that this is something that you could spend money on today, unless, again, you're trying to show off for somebody, which I could see someone doing that.
I think that you should take time to invest in yourself Don't overspend on going to the high end gym unless you can afford it. If it's a networking opportunity for you, by all means, go to the Equinoxes of the world, go to the world's gyms of the world where the celebrities go. Do that. But I think taking the time to invest, because like for us, Chris, I think there's a certain level of discipline that we've cultivated over years. Sometimes being in a place where somebody's there to hold you accountable, if you have that, I think the gym serves a great value for that. But otherwise, take some time, invest in yourself. I think it's one of the best investments you can make. So I definitely think that it's okay to spend money here. Because
you're for it.
Less, yes, because you'll spend less at the gym than you will at the hospital. You $500,000 heart surgery is going to be $1 million in 5-6 years with the cost of living and the value of money going down and healthcare costs going up. Yeah, putting some money in yourself, I think that's a good thing. Because
I can see that.
Yeah, it keeps you, because I think because to me, this is what I found. When I got disciplined with my food and my body, it impacted my discipline in every other aspect of my life. Like I bet you of all the episodes, like once we start to get traction, I bet you this will be one of the least watched videos, because most people, when they think about money and deferred gratification and discipline and putting things off, it's just not of interest to them. And if you're here and you're watching this and you've watched all 10 previous conversations that we've talked about and all 10 topics, that means that you really care about how you're spending your money. You really care about how to make your money grow and how to make your money work and how to put off something later on for something that's better for you then than making yourself feel good today. And I think you're also a person who's learning and to understand the value of not caring about what other people think about you. And so if you're still here in this episode, I want to applaud you, because you've taken the step to really do what's right, to manage your money and your income and your wealth, because you don't want to spend it trying to please other people. So for those of you that stayed here, salute. Congratulations. And Chris, man, do you have any other thoughts? Because there's so many things going on in the news right now that we could talk about. But I thought that it was a good idea just to lighten it up a little bit and have some conversations about this topic. So what else do you have?
Yeah, I think that it's just right now. I mean, you just had the Charlie Kirk services and things like that that are going on. I think it was like over 200,000 people or something was there. It was just absolutely crazy. I don't know if you saw it or not.
Yeah, because the inside was packed and there was a pavilion outside that was packed as well. So a lot of folks there.
Just nuts, just crazy stuff going on. And I just think that we're in a spot right now where I think that lightheartedness is good right now. I think everybody just needs to relax right now. And I know that's easier said than done for a lot of people, but
sure.
I mean, you there's just so much tension in the air that's going on right now that people really do just take it lightheartedly. I mean, you think about it, you're getting ready to come into October, November, December. This year is about to be wrapped up. Like, we're about to go into this holiday season. And I'm like, this is like crazy. Where's the joy in this? Where are we going with this joy stuff right now? But I do think it's kind of interesting what's going on in regards to just how crazily fast everything has switched sides. I'm sure you know now, Jimmy Kimmel's the next victim. So you got him, that his show just got canceled. Obviously you got Colbert that was before him. Mm-hmm. To me, I just think it's so crazy, Len, how fast the counterculture is now, where cancel culture now is, and obviously it's as a result of what he said with in regards to Charlie Kirk assassination.
Wait, so you still agree with what you said last week? You still agree with what you said last week?
In regards to what?
In terms of feeling that he was justified in being let go. You still believe that? You still agree with that, given the information that's come out and all of the context around it? Because remember, when we talked about it last week, it was brand new. We had just found out about it. So we didn't have a lot of information to really make an informed opinion. So do you still agree with that?
Do I agree with this ouster?
Do you agree with the fact that he should have been canceled, that he should have been taken off of air? You still agree with that?
I'm 50-50 on it, man.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
I'm 50-50 on it.
Oh.
And that's hard for me because I was all for it at first. I was like, okay, he should have been taken off. I think it was disgusting what he did.
With limited context, but if you go back and listen to what he said, it was, to me, because what we agreed on is that you should not make any comments about what happened to Charlie Kirk because of the timing. It was in bad taste.
Shouldn't.
However, having said that, he wasn't talking directly about Charlie Kirk. He was talking, his comments were more about his thoughts about the shooter and his belief that quote unquote MAGA world was trying to blame it on him when he was a white male Mormon in Utah, which he was incorrect because he came out too fast, but both sides were coming out too fast. But just considering what's happened with more information, I thought for sure if we were going to talk about this, because I didn't know if we'd broach this topic or not, I thought for sure you'd say, you know what, after really evaluating it and looking at the bigger picture, you know what, I think I don't like what he said. It was objectionable, but the fact that Brendan Carr from the FCC came out and made veiled threats, and then you have the ABC and what is it, Megastar, and they get
all
together.
of them. These weird things you've never heard of.
Yeah, Sinclair, National, Nexstar, and Tegna.
Nexstar, who the hell is this?
Nexstar and Tegna, if they get together, they're gonna be in about 80% of the households. And right now, the FCC limits are 39%. So to me, when I thought, okay, I was like, okay, my friend Chris, who is right-leaning, he's going to hear that Ted Cruz was against it. He's going to hear that Ben Shapiro was against it. He's going to hear that all of these conservative pundits were against it. And he's still, so I'm really, really surprised. But I think that's probably where your 50% comes in, right?
Look, I think he was, okay. I think that he was bullied out. I think he was forced out. I think somebody could call a shot that's in a bigger position of power.
You think?
Yes, I think. I mean, it's obvious, right? Everyone can see that. That's obvious, right? However, at the same time, there were people that were on the other side. Okay. When I say the other side, I hate to say it that way, but you know what I mean. There are people who are right-leaning that got canceled during COVID for misinformation. Sure. And I'm sorry, but he put some misinformation out there, Well, they're trying to prove that it was a MAGA guy, that it wasn't a MAGA guy, but it was. If it was the other way around during COVID, he could have been canceled for that. Okay? Oh. So I kind of almost want to say it goes in the same, here's what I'll do, all right? I think that his firing could be put in the same basket as the Letitia James lawsuit against Trump with the property value whole scam.
Totally disagree.
I think it's in the same camp. They're both BS reasons on overstepping boundaries, overstepping power.
It's not the same.
FCC chair bullied him out because they can. She did that lawsuit because she could.
Okay, but
she did the lawsuit because she could. FCC chair is doing this to Kimmel because he can.
That's the punchline, though. That's the punchline, though, Chris. Okay, here's the difference. Letitia James is an attorney. She's an attorney. The FCC is the United States government. Those are two very different things. And the context of the veiled threat was, the backstory is that you've got Tegna and Nexstar that need the government's approval to have this merger. And so they're in a very tenuous position that if they don't agree with this merger, then what ends up happening is that I mean, the deal doesn't go through. And here's the thing. Back in September, I hope we can find this clip. Back in September, I want to say it was like September 18th or something like that. President Trump was getting ready to get on a plane, and a reporter was asking him a question. I think it was probably about Colbert, because, you know, he kind of helped get him canceled. And he said something to the effect of 97% of the night talk show hosts are against me. And he says, you know, it seems like, you know, they come to us for licensing. It seems like if they wanted to get relicensed, that they'd be a little nicer. You know, you think that, you know, because they have to come to us. It was kind of this like, hey, you know, if you say all this crap about me, I kind of have the power to keep you on or not. And then for this to happen after that, it's a bad look, because here's the problem. And I think although I disagree with the way Ted Cruz put it, I agree with his sentiments. And what he said is that, look, the right is not always going to be in power. And so if you do something that creates a precedent, when the opposition gets in power, they can impose the same issues towards you. And in this case, the issue is free speech and the First Amendment. And if you take freedom of speech, this conversation that we're having, if I say something that's objectionable to the government, they can shut us down. If you say something that's objectionable because another type of government is in place or another type of leadership is in place, then we can still get shut down. So we get shut down on both sides, because we're always talking about opposite sides of the same conversation. This freedom to disagree and to have it in a public forum, and to have other people voice their opinions regardless if we like them or not. That's the whole purpose. If there is no threat to take out somebody's life, if there's no hate speech, don't say you're going to kill us. Don't write us a letter and say that, you can't stand who we are because of what we look like. That's different. But you can disagree with me. You can, say what you want. And I don't like insults or anything like that. I'd rather you keep it civil. But man, disagree all the time, because we need that. And so I think what's happening, we're on a very, very slippery slope. And here's a slippery slope from my perspective, Chris, is that when you have a president that has the bully pulpit and has power and has influence and creates a cabinet of yes men and yes women, then what ends up happening is nobody wants to tell you that you have no clothes on. Nobody wants to tell you that you're wrong. And I think anytime you have a government that shuts down the press and a government that shuts down oppositional talk, that creates a very, very slippery slope towards something that we don't want to see. And so I'm not going to say that, that we're there, but we are definitely teetering on the brink if it continues to go in this direction.
Well, I mean, I think what you're saying is that Jimmy Kimmel's the sacrificial lamb, and he had to fall on the sword for somebody's merger to happen.
Oh, but you know what happened? I think.
Or was it convenient?
It was not convenient, though, because you know what happened? Disney stock and their sales fell $4 billion. Their stock is like at $112 right now, bro.
It's nothing out of the normal.
No, bro.
They've been hemorrhaging for a while.
Oh man, but now here's the difference. The difference is
because
that
of Jimmy Kimmel
on both sides. No, it's okay. Look, so what's happening right now is you have the Screen Actors Guild that's protesting. So a lot of people that are even employed by Disney, they're protesting against what happened to Jimmy Kimmel. And then now that's on the left. On the right, you have people protesting against Disney because of who they put in their movies and who they have in their theme parks and all of those things. So they're catching it on both sides. And so this just created a whole cascade of negative energy toward Disney. So I have a sneaky suspicion that they're going to bring him back. I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's just my suspicion.
I mean, well, I don't think they're going to bring him back, but I also would say
think
that
so?
I couldn't. I don't think so. I also don't think it's the silence of the media or of the journalists getting information to the public like you would paint it to be, simply because I don't think Jimmy Kimmel's a journalist and I wouldn't look at him for news anyways. I wouldn't listen to a damn word he says.
I agree.
The damn word that guy says.
But to me, that's more of the reason why he shouldn't have been canceled, because he's not a journalist. My issue with regard to the government and journalism is that's why I said we're on a slippery slope. I don't think that he was fired for a lack of journalistic integrity. He's a comedian. But when you say something about the commander in chief that's objectionable from the perspective of the commander in chief, and then that person gets canceled, what happens later when now it becomes the norm to get people canceled in a very public way? Like, again, let's go back and let's take your argument. You talked about a lot of people getting canceled during COVID. What happened during that time is it was stuff going on covertly behind closed doors. And now you have people getting canceled in overt ways. They're not journalists. That hasn't happened yet. So it really speaks to this degradation of this separation that the government should have in the daily affairs of individuals' lives. And the next logical progressive step down the line of this slippery slope is that it could venture into journalism. And then when you get rid of, the First Amendment, then you talk about the Fourth Amendment, which is freedom of the press, if I'm not mistaken, right? Once you get rid of that, now, then the Second Amendment becomes an issue. And now, that's what I'm saying. It's just a slippery slope. I think we need to really, I think this right here is a bipartisan agreement that the government should stay out of the affairs of what comes out of people's mouths if it's not hurting somebody and if it's not hateful.
Yeah, I just think he was too fine on the line there, and I think that the executives that made the decision to pull the plug on him, they just were happy because they got a get out of jail free card to cut him loose because they wanted to cancel him anyways.
Okay.
I just think late night TV is dying. I don't think anybody watches late night TV. The demographics that would pull that are dying. Gen X, and maybe if they watch it, baby boomers. I know millennials don't watch late night TV.
I can't tell you the last time I watched late night TV.
And Gen Zs don't watch TV. That's why I was like, how did these companies, these broadcast companies, have power? Over the air broadcast companies have power. I can't even remember the last time I even watched TV because everything's on here or the computer or whatever. So to me, I'm just like, I think that's a dying sector, and I think the executives that made the decision to pull him, I think it was inevitable, and I think that they got to get out of jail free card, and Trump gave it to them because he said it because they knew what he was going to say before he said it because they produced it. It was the cue cards, you know what I'm saying? The production, the management. Mm-hmm. So the producers, they knew what was going to happen. They knew that show. So I think he's shocked. I don't think he thought it was going to happen, but I can't say still too that those guys don't act with a lot of hubris and a lot of this elitist about them, that they're untouchable and they could do and say whatever they want. You know,
you're talking about comedians. Well, okay, but
Kimmel, all the late night guys.
It's still free speech. It's still free speech as long as it doesn't cross the line to hate. Again, I don't disagree with you from the standpoint that some of the things they say are objectionable. I don't disagree with that, but you still have the freedom to do that. I hated 80% of the things that Rush Limbaugh said. I did not agree with that guy one bit, many words, but he still has a right to speak his truth and just to say what he believes. He has a right to do that. I would never want to take that away from anybody. Now, if you start talking about the fact that a whole group of people need to be exterminated or a whole group of people is less than and all of that, that's different. But if you say that the left is this and that and this and that, like I even think even this whole conversation, and I'll turn it back over to you, Chris, after this comment. I think that the slippery slope is also happening with the rhetoric on both sides of the aisle saying that the other side is a threat to democracy. Like, I think you got to be very careful when you say that, because what happens is people in high places like that know their words are influential, and they also understand this whole idea of when you say something once, it has this dramatic effect. But over time, people become dulled and their senses become numb. And then things that were once egregious are just commonplace. And that's the real dangerous. That's the real insidious danger here on both sides.
Yeah, I can see that, and I agree with you on that. I just think that late night TV perverted itself and is cannibalizing itself. Late night TV used to be fun and used to be about interviewing talent and actresses and actors and celebrities and getting an inside idea of them and their lives and what's going on in their projects and pop culture. And it just turned into this pissing contest of these people that get on there and groan and talk about stuff that they don't like and politically soapbox themselves. So
I think it's a subset of what happened in the news too, because I think they're all doing it, and I think
they're all doing it.
This is where I agree with you 100%. I think that the news and late night is becoming more salacious in what they say, because it gets clicks and it gets a visceral emotional response, because they all know they're dying. And when you're dying, you get desperate and you do desperate things. And I think that our news on our regular TV, like you and I, as long as we don't violate YouTube rules and FCC violations by saying, bad words that could get, AI'd out, we can have a long form conversation, because we're not, it's a free flow of conversation. This medium that we're on right now is only going to get bigger. The medium they're on is only going to get smaller. So when you're out in the middle of an ocean, you might try to jump on somebody who can't swim just because they might give you a few more moments to have an opportunity not to die. And so we do desperate things. And I think that's where traditional media is going right now.
Yeah, and I think everything in the world is going DeFi. I think everything's going decentralized. Yeah. Especially in transactions. Web-based DeFi is so important. I can't wait to get off of all these centralized access points and centralized apps and ecosystems, and make it more open source and more open again and more free. And I think that's what's happening with the advent. Internet is forcing all of this legacy media to really adapt, because you're not plugged into this channel or this cable network anymore to get everything. You got to go here, you got to wait, like pay-per-view and all that stuff. Like, for example, my son was watching the Canelo boxing fight on Netflix, and I was like, wow, you don't even have to pay-per-view anymore. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Like, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. So I just think that that's a good thing. It's becoming more open source. It's becoming more free. Mm-hmm. And I think obviously all these guys, you're absolutely right. They're panicking. So
yep, absolutely.
Great combo, man.
Well, I enjoyed the conversation, Chris. And for all of you that stayed along, hey, we appreciate you. We want to make sure that we're bringing you content that gives you value and entertains you as well. So thanks for tuning in to the Family Office. Be sure to like and subscribe. Make sure you comment. And we look forward to interacting and engaging with you. So until the next episode, Chris, it's always nice to see you, sir. Take care.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Family Office.